Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever else you want to call yourself. This could get interesting. Doku has some opinions he would like to tell people about, and I find the name fits this story oh so very, very well. Doku, as we're doing the 5 minute thing, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, bro?
I'm actually doing quite well, to be honest. I'm finally sleeping again. The heat isn't quite as atrocious as it has been. I realise to most Americans, what I call heat, you call winter, but nonetheless.
Close enough.
How is things in your country with the Roe v. Wade issue? Again, no swearing.
Uh, to be fair, I was actually expecting more of a backlash, but it there has been backlash. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there hasn't been, but I was expecting a lot more.
Fair, to be honest. So was I. Oh, wow. We actually have a person.
Hey, CSG,
CSG.
what's up, dude?
Oh, this could get fun.
Oh yeah, I'd actually be very curious to see CSG's opinion on this one because, well, uh, how many minutes do we have left to go through, Jensen?
Unfortunately, 2 minutes plus yet. But CSG, I will send you the link. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. It will be in your Discord DMs. Once I, there we go. There you are. You, as I say, you don't have to by any stretch of the imagination, mate. But there is the link if you wish to. This is good that you are a person.
I
By
I
the
love
way,
that response.
he's lying. He's actually a cat. We know this. Okay.
Well,
He gone.
to to be fair, uh,
Hmm.
considering the topic of conversation that's going to be coming up, I I'm not going to shame you or say you can or cannot identify as whatever you want to, CSG.
Oh, actually, I've got a concept for you. What if, and you'll like this, okay, this one's good. What if I identify as a trans woman? Now, let me explain that. I'm a man who thinks I'm a woman who thinks I'm a man.
I I feel like you could perhaps make a documentary about it.
Disturbingly, yes. But I'm thinking this would actually deal with a lot of these arguments because I claim that I identify as a woman who identifies as a man. How dare you have a problem with this, you bigot?
I like CSG's response.
Yep.
Oh, oh, this is gonna get really cheeky really quick, and that pun was not intended.
Hmm. Cheeky just fits the right term, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
By the way, you're welcome to use the man who identifies as a woman who identifies as a man on any one of your tweets. I give you full and complete permission to knock yourself out with that one. That should drive people up the wall. Because after all, it's not like they can disagree. Otherwise, they're going against their own philosophy.
See, the funny part is I saw a tweet earlier
Hmm.
and I used basically the same thing that you were saying,
Hmm.
except it was along the lines of it's my body, my choice, unless it's your body, but also my choice, because my choice matters more than agency over your own body, as long as my choice is the right one.
Yep. CSG has explained everything that needs to be said. I disagree. Now, what's the question?
This is this is basically the state of political discourse right now, actually.
That's actually not wrong.
No, he's not
Pe-
wrong at all.
no, people do seem to be coming into this in with disagree. I disagree with whatever you're saying. Now, what is it you're actually saying? It does come across that way, and going to be completely honest with you. What does that fucking say about fucking society? There you go, mate. Is that better?
Ah, there we go. Perfect. So,
Unleash hell, sir. Unleash hell.
yeah, now that we don't have to worry about any of the fucking shit that Twitter puts us or YouTube puts us through, we can go ahead and unleash the proverbial fuckery.
Yes. Oh,
So
there you go.
let me get this up.
Yep. We want to make it bigger so as people can see it.
So
Mm-hmm.
there we go. Uh, I'm not going to share my opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
Jensen, what do you think about? And just for anybody that's listening and not watching the screen, I'll go ahead and read this tweet.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the obligatory don't go harass this person. Don't respond to them. We're just talking about somebody who has an opinion, and they're
Yep.
entitled to their opinion.
I can word it another way for the English people. Don't bother talking to this muppet. They're not worth your time. There you go.
There you go. Fair enough.
That is the British version of what you just said.
So to give context to this, before I read what this individual said, my opinion is that no, prepubescent children do not understand sexuality or gender, and
Mhm.
you should not be talking to them about sexuality and gender, especially if you're not their parent. It, teachers teachers do not need to be doing this. Strangers do not need to be talking to children about sex, sexuality, gender identity. No, you need to be teaching them how to read and write and how to do math. It
Yes.
and my question has been for this entire conversation, why do you want to talk to kids about sex, sexuality, gender, and gender identity? This individual has the opinion that kids absolutely, and I will now read the quote or the tweet. Kids absolutely understand sexuality and gender, especially when they are equipped with the right language to put their feelings into words, which is what you're trying to prevent. You want LGBT youth to feel alone and be unable to understand themselves. My rebuttal to this is no, they don't. Kids kids do not understand sexuality and gender. They don't. It
Hmm.
and I get annoyed with individuals like this who try to say this is like an LGBT thing. I don't care if you're talking about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, cisgender, straight, or anything else. I just don't think you should be having sexual conversations with strangers' kids. That's it. Like I do not care if it's LGBT. I don't care if it's straight. I don't care if it's cis. Just don't talk to kids about sex. They're not your kids. That's it. They if kids, especially prepubescent kids, have these have these types of questions, they can go talk to their parents.
Yep.
That's it. Like, I mean, it's really that simple. So this is not an LGBT thing. This is just don't talk to children about sex. Like,
Yes.
and I've had a few other people try to say like, oh well, they're talking about gender. It's like, okay, well, gender is undeniably tied to sex, specifically
Mhm.
biological sex. It's like, well,
Mhm.
it's not. It's like, well, yes, it is. Gender and biological sex are inexplicably and undeniably tied. That so if you're going to try to sit there and tell me that sexuality and gender aren't tied to biological sex, you're lying.
Well,
Hey,
no,
you
no, 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 no. I'm going to stop you there. I would like them to explain coherently how you are defined as lying, not accepting the fact that they are lying. Okay, explain this in a way that actually makes sense. Because after all, it is better to allow for the. Looks like you're about to be CSG'd. Um, if they've got a good reason and I'm willing to listen to their reason, which I always am, it's actually one of the things about me, I'm willing to listen to their reason. I might not accept their reason, I might consider their reason absolutely lunatic, but I will most definitely listen before I make a judgment.
Well, and Jensen, here's the thing, and this is what I find so annoying about these types of arguments.
Hmm.
And I will use what this individual is saying in terms of LGBT. Okay,
Hmm.
you're lesbian, female attracted to female, gay,
Yes.
male attracted to male, bisexual, male attracted to both male and female, or female attracted to both male and female, trans, a male or female or somebody else who has decided to transition to either male or female because that's how they identify, that's how they view themselves. They've gone through either a certain medical procedure and they present themselves in that way. That's fine. I really don't care about any of that. If you're lesbian, cool. More power to you, man. Or more power to you, girl. I don't care. Go about your business. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me. If you're gay, do your thing. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me at all. If you're bi, cool. You get the best of both worlds. If you're trans, okay, cool. Transition to whatever it is you want to transition into. I do not care about that. It doesn't matter to me.
Goku, one sec. ACSG.
My God damn it! It's way too early for this shit. Why the fuck do I have to argue with you people? God damn it!
You don't
Good
have to
morning,
argue.
CSG.
Join the leftists. Just agree with what we're saying. You're
I
not allowed an
can't.
opinion. No, no.
I just can't. Right, so as the left's representative, even though I'm not fucking left wing, but as the left's representative, what did you want to know?
All yours, Doku. This one's all you, buddy.
Oh no, my only point about this is I don't think we should be talking to kids about sex. Hey,
Okay, so
that's it.
first point, and I'm not trying to be combative on purpose, but what do you mean by talking about sex? Because we talk to kids about sex from year 3 to year 6, but that's not about actual intercourse and how it works. That's talking about how family structure is and how mummies and daddies can love each other. That's talking about sex, but not the mechanics of it. When you go into year 6 to year 7, you're then talking about the mechanics of it, basic mechanics. Then when you go into year 9, then you're talking about more specific aspects of it.
Okay,
So
so more specifically, what I'm talking about is I do not believe it's appropriate for strangers, and when I say strangers, I mean individuals talking to other people's kids about sex, whether it's sexual identity, gender identity, the act of sex, how sex occurs. That's just not appropriate for you to be talking to other people's children about.
is that a particular age or just universally?
Oh, I would say okay. So I would say it's fair to put an age limit on things. So if you're saying, and I had to go through sex ed at the same time I was going through when I had to when I
When you
was
were going through puberty, it's funny how they put those two together normally.
Stunning, isn't it?
well that would be one, but it actually occurred after. It was when I was a junior in high school, and the way that they approach the subject in my state at least is you went through driver's ed, and that was half of the discussion, and then the other half, and I don't know why they did it this way, but one half of the course was you went through driver's ed. The other half of the course was there was a sex ed part. But we
To me,
weren't
it sounds like that was a basic civics course. Then you're just learning how to be adults.
Basically, I mean, we
It
weren't.
sounds to me like they're trying to teach you weird things about cars. Just saying.
I mean, there is a reason why the mechanic files are on the rise, right? You got to love that exhaust pipe.
Oh, don't even think of suggesting that, because there's bound to actually be a group that's actually now claiming that. Just saying.
What do you mean a group? There's actually stories on people that anyway.
Oh God.
Yes, there is
Oh,
actual
wow.
people that love their cars and actually have a sexuality towards it. Same as the trees people.
That's
At least, look,
only mildly concerning.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world,
argue-
right? At least it's their car. Look, they're kind of getting consent. They don't go and reap other people's cars, right?
I guess it technically.
Right?
Yeah, well, actually,
You
yeah. I
sure?
guess it could be worse.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, generally as well, they try to practice safe sex as well, so they won't go and fuck it while it's hot. So they're practicing some sort of form of safe sex. Anyway, back to your civics class.
Yeah.
So my point is this: we weren't talking to 5, 6, 7-year-olds, or more specifically, we weren't talking to prepubescent kids about sex. And my point and what kicked off this whole Twitter, I'll say conversation because I feel like being nice for once.
Is that because I would pull you on it otherwise?
Oh no, I'm sure if I had any sort of degradation, I'm sure you'd call me out for it. But
well, I'd call you out even if you didn't have degradation. But anyway,
fair point. But my issue is this: I do not think it's appropriate for other individuals to be talking to strangers' kids about sex, whether they believe, whether they think one side of the ideology or the other side of the ideology is correct or incorrect. I really don't care about that aspect. I don't care if you're cis. I don't care if you're straight. Don't care if you're trans. Don't care if you're gay. Don't care if you're bi. Don't care if you're lesbian. Don't care if you're gay. And to me, that none of that matters.
But I have one question: do you care if they're into cars?
Jensen.
Carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's just bypass that one. Let's stick to the normal side of the internet for a change.
Hold it. Wait, I'm sorry. You want to bypass it and stick to the normal side? Really?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Damn it, Jensen. But no, the thing that apparently pissed off a lot of people was me having the stance that I just don't think you should be talking to prepubescent kids about sex. It's not appropriate. It's not your place. And that's that. This is not.
See, I'd kind of agree with you. But when you first started the conversation, and maybe it's just the way that I misheard you, but the way that you framed it was, we shouldn't tell kids about sex at all. And maybe that's my understanding of how you framed it, but that's how it seemed to me when you first stated it.
Well, so I'll phrase it in this way. When we're talking about teaching kids, especially in the public education stance, it's not appropriate. It's not up to you. It's not your decision to talk to kids about whether it's gender identity, sexual identity, or sex in general, or any of those types of things. That's not appropriate because it's not your decision. Those are not your kids.
Sure.
You're not the parents. And to state otherwise, and again, my opinion, to be upset about this, to be offended about it, as far as I'm concerned, is you essentially stating to me you believe that you should be allowed to talk to children about this type of topic or conversation. I disagree. I
right.
don't.
Okay. So stop right there for just 1 second. I understand where you're going. The reason why I say stop there is not because I fundamentally disagree with you. It's so we can go point by point. So I do agree with you that there are people that are always going to be of the opinion that I will teach my child about sex because I feel uncomfortable about other adults doing that. But the reason why we do teach children of all ages about some version of sex at an age appropriate time is so that they are equipped to be able to deal with situations that crop up when they're reaching those certain time periods. So when we start talking about puberty, as Jensen and I already agreed upon, and I guess you would as well, is generally when people start being affected by puberty. It's almost like the dates are set to correlate with what's going on in real life.
Yes,
So
I do
it's
agree
more
with
to
you.
do with. Sorry, go on, Jensen.
Just agreeing with you, mate. I actually agree with that. That is when it should be, in my opinion.
Completely not agree. I completely not agree. I think it should be exactly the same as that. And as far as I'm aware, and admittedly, I have not been as let's say as active as I used to be, but I still keep abreast of what's going on in the world most of the time. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen people in preschool being taught about this is a dick, this is how you suck it, and this is how you lick it. I haven't seen people going about telling kids to do that yet.
Pause. You have seen the clips of at the trans bar, i.e., the men
Do you
dressed
mean the
as
drag
women.
bar?
Yes, with the
Okay.
what was it? It ain't gonna suck itself.
Yes, because it was in an ice cream parlor.
Yeah, sure.
Did you check the address? Like there's an address that you can go and check as it's
Mhm.
there's an event that's on. You can check what the event was on. It was held at a certain event address. When you check the address, it's an ice cream parlor with a bar.
Interesting. I did not know this. In my opinion, I still feel it's inappropriate to actually leave something like that on, given what was going on in there.
Oh, that I
But
can
I
agree with
did not
that. Yeah,
know.
I think that's inappropriate for it to be left on. But I don't think that the actual event. There are parts of the event I disagree with.
Well,
Okay.
to
And
be
I think
fair, CSG, something we do have to point out is that where that particular event occurred, it was not in the ice cream parlor part of the establishment. It was within the bar, and
I agree.
kids should not be allowed. They legally
You have
and
not been to England, then, my friend. We
No,
have people
no.
in bars from like the age of 4 that are allowed to walk and run around because their parents are probably working or drinking. It's just the way that that is for us.
well,
In all fairness, CSG, as long as they can stand their own and drink a pint, all's good. Don't matter how old they are.
Well, to be
well,
fair, I always go along the lines of if they can sit on a bar stool, they can have a pint.
Mm-hmm.
well, and that I'm not actually going to disagree with you on that one either, because as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I guess I'm going to throw myself under the bus on this one.
Little bit.
I've been drinking for a while, so I
No.
still look at
Are you sure?
alcohol.
Are you sure? You seem so well put together.
Yeah, damn it, CSG. But no, I look at our alcohol laws in the United States and go, I don't know. If you think beer is the worst thing in the world, you must live a relatively sheltered life.
Oh yeah.
Well, right. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing in the world, right? Because it's not. But because of how easy access that alcohol is, the damages that it does do are so much more widespread than any other drug, simply because it is so widespread and it is so accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start having issues with alcoholism to the point of where you started to run out of money, to the point of where you're starting to steal things, where you can't function properly, and having all the problems that you would do if you were on crack or if you were on heroin, in the same reason of having it on alcohol, I kind of find it the same level as what they are.
Yeah. I agree with you there.
So if we're gonna go down this rabbit hole, no pun intended, my issue.
I do like holes.
Again, no comment.
I'm not gonna comment on that one either.
Mm-hmm. But you're not
But
denying it, though.
I feel like I should elaborate more, but I feel like I've let out enough.
Yeah, you're good. No, the issue I have, and it's not just this one particular instance with the bar and the drag show in Dallas, Texas, because that's where this occurred. But it's happened in a few other cases, a few other instances where it's not just the drag show. It's the fact that you have kids, and it explicitly has been kids who are putting dollar bills in people's garters or in their waistbands. You've had instances where kids are actually getting up on stage and dancing. You've had instances where adults are handing kids money. And that's beyond what I consider appropriate. You're
Yeah,
basically getting
you
kids as
won't.
strippers. And
Yeah,
that
no, you basically will not find me agreeing with that. After all, there are many videos that I may have not done in my personal library that may not be visible to certain people anymore. But one of the videos that I used to do quite often was talking about Desmond is amazing. I think I did about 4 videos on them, and you're not going to find me disagreeing with you that thinking that that is inappropriate. Not doing the drag, so to speak. Like if you want to dress up as a princess, go fucking ahead. I don't care. It's more of the point of what you said is where you put them up on stage, where they're being ogled, when they're then being paid for a service that you would pay for a stripper or a dancer. Kind of makes that a bit sexualizing of the child, and I completely not agree with you. That shouldn't happen. But that aspect we can agree on, but that doesn't mean that that aspect is being taught in schools. That is actually coming from the parents.
Oh, and I do believe that is also an issue, and part of the issue here is what you just brought up is when it comes to the parents who are allowing this to occur is concerning in and of itself. But there have been instances, and I know it's anecdotal, but there have been drag shows that have occurred in public schools where they have had kids come up on stage and do the exact same thing. And when it gets called out, when people look at it and go, "Hey, look, this is not appropriate. This is not okay," it gets called out as or people get upset because they say, "Oh, well, you're just it's transphobic or it's homophobic or it's this or that," and it's like, yeah, and this is my point. This is why I get so irritated about this type of argument. I don't care about I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. What I do care about is you're sexualizing children. That's not appropriate at all.
I mean, let's be clear here, and I do not disagree with you that the children at those points in time are becoming sexualized. I do not think that the parents that encourage their children, whether it's right or wrong for that type of encouragement, I do not think that they're encouraging them to sexualize them or to make them sexualized. I think it's more of a case of they think that they're doing good because they're encouraging their child to do what they think their child wants to do. And you could argue that when you put a child into playing football, whether it be American or soccer, when you put a child into football, is that you actually progressing their values or is it you progressing your values? It's really hard to tell when you're trying to encourage children to do stuff.
Well, CSG, here's the issue that I have with this. So if you're saying I want my kid to go play football, whether it's football or as the Americans call it, soccer, it that's kids playing sports. When you're putting kids into a situation that is explicitly sexual, and let's be honest about this one.
Okay, let me change it. Let me change it to
Explicitly
dance.
sexual.
Let me change it to dance then, because I can tell exactly where you're going. Let me change it to dance. Dance, in most cases, no matter what you're doing as a dance, is generally sexualized. It can be, it looks like it, so on and so forth, right? So if we're going to say that children shouldn't do anything sexualized, then children shouldn't dance, right?
That's actually a good argument. I like the argument you're making.
That's why I sniggered.
So the stance I would take on that one is if the parent thinks that it is not appropriate, then yeah, their child shouldn't partake.
I think it should be the parents' choice. They are, after all, the people in charge of the
The
child.
guardians.
The guardian. That will do. Whether they like it or not, okay, that is their job. It should be their choice. If it's wrong, they're the ones that are actually going to have to deal with the legality of this.
Yep.
I'm sorry to say, it should not be up to the school to make that decision. Now, granted, again, in my opinion, if the school has sent back a little bit of paper for the parents to sign saying that it's acceptable, and the parents have then signed it saying it's acceptable, then whether it's right or wrong morally, it's right, as in it is legal. So therefore, the school can actually do it. But it's the thing that annoys me is when the parents are not, or sorry, the guardians are not actually brought in on this conversation until after the effect. That is what bugs me.
Yeah, I do find that that's quite separate to how the UK operates to how the US operates. It does seem that when a US school decides that it's going to put on a pantomime, for instance, I know that they don't necessarily do it that way, but just saying it as a general example. If the school's going to put on a pantomime, all of the schools in the UK will send out an application form and a parent's acceptance form for them to be able to participate in it. It does not
Yep.
seem, though I could be wrong, it does not seem that the US do that. And if they do, it's not very often, and it's not universal. It's if the school decides. And I think if you're doing stuff with children, you always need the parents' consent.
Well, and that is the big issue that we've been having here in the United States is, I mean, you essentially been branded by the DOJ as quote unquote domestic terrorists simply for
Wait,
being
no, let's be clear. Let's be clear. They didn't brand the people from the DOJ, they didn't brand them as domestic terrorists just because you may disagree with the trans agenda. They branded people that were going out of their way to protest schools, that were going out of their ways to stop administrations and meetings going ahead via their protesting. That's the reason why they decided to call them versions of a terrorist, though it wasn't actually.
CSG, Merrick Garland, Obama's head of the DOJ, flat out said, if a parent or a group of parents protested a school board, that he called them domestic terrorists. I mean, he flat out called them domestic terrorists. There's
Sure. What do you think is different from what I just said to what that was just stated as?
well, CSG.
I'm asking you a question because I'm trying to understand where you think the differences are. I think that there's a difference there.
No, there is no difference. If you do, according to Merrick Garland, if you do not agree with the school board, if you decide you want to protest, yeah, according to Merrick Garland, you're a domestic terrorist.
Again, even on Garland's example, was it a case of if you just protest, or was it a case of if you protest during the school board meetings to stop the meetings from going ahead?
No, it was just if you protest.
That's different. That's different to what you stated at the beginning of your apparent quote, where you said that if they protest in the schools.
Well, that's the thing. He also gave no context. He didn't tell you any type of circumstance. He didn't say like under these conditions. He just said if you're against the school boards and what they're doing, you're a domestic terrorist. He made a blanket statement. There is absolutely no context to it, and that's the problem with this statement.
Okay, but is there any policy actually made from that statement?
Oh, there's no policy made from it.
So it's just a statement. Somebody saying, like, for instance, Trump saying you should attack the government. That's just a statement, right?
Yeah, technically, yes.
Okay. Let's make sure that we stick consistently then.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, you're correct. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. I think it's a rather egregious statement. It's coming from the head of the DOJ, especially when you're talking about parents who are concerned about how their children are being treated. I think it's a rather irresponsible statement.
Oh, I can agree with that.
May I make a point here?
Let me just finish up real quick.
Go on.
Jensen, even though it's your show, you're not allowed to talk, mate. You have to wait.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sorry, Dad.
But no, I do understand the point you're trying to make, CSG. And is it as serious as people made it out to be? Probably not. But it is something worth talking about.
I agree. Jensen, you wanted to say something. I will allow you to speak now.
Thank you, Dad. Right. The point being that I was making was, if you actually look in the Midlands, there was actually a school recently actually had a teacher that came out as gay, and the Muslim parents lost their living minds and were actually protesting it outside the school. Theoretically, based on what you were saying, Doku, that they would be classed as terrorists. Now, I realise you need to be very careful, seeing as they're Muslims. I understand this. This seems to be an ongoing thing. But their religion actually stated that having an openly gay teacher who was teaching kids about being gay wasn't acceptable. Now, again, just asking, in your opinion, who is in the right, who is in the wrong?
Can you give me 2 minutes? I'm just brushing my teeth.
Yeah. You do you, mate. It's cool. Doku?
I mean, from what side do you want me to argue?
Actually, I want you to argue your opinion. The sides don't matter in this. You are your own person. You are a separate individual. I would like your opinion.
I mean,
One sec. Batman, it's in DMs, mate. Discord. Carry on.
I mean, to be fair, they aren't domestic terrorists. They are parents, and they have agency over their kids before anybody else does. So, no, them against whatever the school board or the teachers are teaching. The school boards, they don't have any right to your kids or to teach your kids a certain thing one way or the other. So no, they're not domestic terrorists. They're just saying, no, I don't like what you're teaching my kids. I disagree with what you're teaching, and I don't support it, and therefore I'm going to say F you.
I'm going to make it a little bit worse. 1 second. Hey, Batman, good to see you, mate. I'm just making a point, so hush a sec. Okay. Their argument was that they didn't want the kids in his class because he was gay. Now, is that homophobic, or is that acceptable based on their religion?
No.
In my opinion, it's homophobic.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. Okay.
Well, and that's the other aspect of the argument is you can't remove somebody from access to an institution, or like what in this case it would be considered a public institution. You can't say you're not allowed to have access to this because you are said thing. That's not what we're arguing here. What we're arguing is you can't push something on somebody without consent of the parents. So you can't exclude.
Yeah, I think that Jensen's trying to go through a thought experiment to try and explain that there are roots to behaviors, and maybe we should explain and expand upon the roots of why people behave certain ways. Though I could be wrong.
What I was doing there.
What I was going to say is, the way the Islamic community responds to gay people, trans people, bi people, whatever, it's going to push the loony left, the woke mob, into. They're going to have to make a choice: do they support Islam or do they support the LGBTQ, MICKE, MOUSE community?
Yeah.
Because you can't support both.
No.
And the good thing is they didn't. They actually stayed with, because of what Jensen's thought experiment was, they worked out that the reason why that they were protesting wasn't because of their right of religious freedoms, is because of, in this secular instance or separate instance, was because of their bigotry that was going against a particular person because of their orientation.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw what I was trying to say there.
Yeah.
That's useful.
Well, and that's the point. The issue that we're having here right now, at least in the United States, is you can't exclude people based on something, but you can't force your beliefs or ideologies on them either.
No, that's the same over here. Still, you can explain your beliefs to somebody, but you can't browbeat them into agreeing with them.
Yeah.
So Jensen would probably know the thing a bit more than I would, but as far as I remember, the actual person wasn't parading around. He wasn't a feminine. He wasn't feminine. He wasn't feminine in his explanation of who he was, or whatever. He, like in his mannerisms, right? He just was let out that he was gay, and that got back to the parents. He wasn't trying to tell the kids about it. He wasn't trying to go out of his way to like try and explain anything. It just got told into the school that he was gay, and it turned out to be true, and the parents didn't like that. That was literally the whole story. There's other stories of where we're talking about curriculum, but this particular one is directly based on that person's gay. I don't want gay people teaching my kids. And as far as I remember, most of the left, as well as the right, went, no, you're right. You shouldn't be able to discriminate against people because of their sexual orientation, and regardless of your religion. So they did make a decision on that one, luckily.
Yeah, one sec. But man, I've no idea. It seems to be a thing that has happened on StreamYards a few times. It's happened to me as well. So apologise that it's happening. And I'll actually keep an active eye on it, and I don't know what's going on.
Not something you need to apologise for. Just wondering what the hell was happening.
No, dude. If I could actually, if I can work out what's going on and try to make sure it doesn't happen, I'll let you know. Yep. But it just seems to happen randomly.
Yeah,
I was going to say I wouldn't hold your breath. I can't even work StreamYards out, and I used to use it quite often.
One thing I would say about this whole subject is both Islam and the LGBT community are pushing for more and more rights, more and more freedoms, more and more privileges, and they want those.
When you finished, I'm going to have to push back and ask you for examples on the LGBT.
Yeah, fair enough. They just they want the right to parade how they want, behave how they want, and not get any combat on that. I mean, for instance,
again, what do you mean by that?
The Pride, for instance, the Pride parade. They're allowed to parade down the street, dressed in a way that you or I, if we would dress like that, even for a parade, we'd be arrested for indecent exposure.
This is true.
Yeah, but is that because they've already applied to be able to do this?
It doesn't matter. It's still indecent exposure, and it's in a public place. It's down the fucking street. And it's not just the exposure, it's the acts they simulate whilst on these parades.
Okay, so there are other parades that go down, let's say, for instance, Carnival in Nottingham Hill, right? Where you have lots of women that are basically wearing a two-piece swimming costume, walking down the thing and dancing provocatively, right? Does that count as being indecent exposure? Or is it a case of you actually have evidence of proper indecent exposure? What do you mean by that?
If I may, Batman, I'd actually like to interrupt here. CSG, I actually see what you're saying, and you are correct. But the problem is, assuming Batman is talking about the same thing as
I'm always correct.
Batman, hold up, mate. Hold it back. I know you want to chat on it. Okay. And CSG, theoretically, what he's talking about is in New York, they were actually doing a pride parade, and people were walking around basically wearing an overexcited nappy and grinding their groin against police officers who were telling them to piss off. They weren't doing it.
Partially.
So okay. By the way, when I say just from what about just a nappy, I'm not joking. These were not, to put it bluntly, these were not pretty boys. These were
fat middle-aged guys.
Yes,
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and another thing that's happening in Pride parades, both in the US and in the UK, is you've had the the leather brigade wandering about with crotchless pants, leather pants on. Yeah, letting it all swing free.
Mhm.
Well,
believe the term would
hang
be
on,
chap.
hang on, hang on.
By letting it
By
all swing
definition,
free.
if you are wearing leather pants or leather shorts, there is nothing that is hanging free, my friend. It is
No,
always tight as shit.
Did you hear the word I said when I said
Crotchless.
crotchless?
Yeah, no,
CSU, what he's
So,
talking about, he's
hang
talking
on,
about.
hang on.
He's
I
talking
get
about
it. I get
chap.
it. I understand. They're talking about chaps. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So when you say that they're letting it hang all out, are you saying that there's no pants, no thong, no nothing that's
No,
actually stopping it
no,
from falling out? It's just
exactly,
literally
yeah.
naked.
Yeah.
he's talking about their genitalia was revealed to the people
Yeah.
while wearing.
Then that's absolutely
crotch-
disgusting. If
Yes,
that's
it is.
actually true, then that's absolutely disgusting, and I don't mind
It
admitting
is.
that and condemning
This
it.
is why I think, from what I've heard, the majority of gay people, trans people, and others don't attend these pride parades.
No, they
I
don't,
believe-
because it's normally more of it. To be fair, are you talking about pride parades or are you talking about kink parades that are within pride events? Because these are different things.
Why the kink parades are usually the actual what we think of as pride parades because of taken over.
They're not the same.
To be fair, CSG actually does have a point because I know quite a few people in the LGBT community that I've talked to, and they don't support this shit either.
Yeah, I know. I've heard the same. I know quite a few people as well. They're just people who want to get on with their lives. I can
All right,
respect.
guys. All right, guys. We all know a couple of people. You don't have to pretend that you have friends. It's fine.
I didn't say I had friends.
True.
Wait, friends? What's that?
Internet friends.
Don't even
Yeah.
have them. I just have internet people I know.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to change my name to Tonkasaw.
Yeah. Don't be stupid, Doku. You're not that well liked.
Jokes aside.
Who says I was joking?
Oh, Batman. But no, I also do believe there's a good amount of people who see this and just go, yo, look, I don't support this. And I do believe there's a good amount of people in the LGBT community that go, or that look at this and go, yeah, I don't support this. Like, this is not what we're about. Like, I just like men, or I just like women, or I'm bi, or I'm trans. Like, I'm not about this. And that those are not the individuals I'm talking about. And honestly, I believe they're the ones that should be pissed off the most, because there is and I do believe it to be a small subset of individuals that are trying to push this idea that we should be talking to prepubescent kids about sex, sexuality,
not.
gender identity. Well, no, there is a small subset of people that do want to talk about this and get very, very upset when you say, no, this is not appropriate. And if
but when you say this is why I'd wanted to jump on. When you say, oh, they want to talk about sex, are you I'm being honest, are you telling me there are people that actually want to go and tell 4 and 5-year-olds about you put the penis in the hole? Are you?
Yes.
Is that what?
Yes.
But I haven't
Yes.
seen anybody. I haven't seen anybody that says that that's a good idea.
Oh yeah, no, there are people in Virginia. There have been people in it was
Saying that you should tell them about actual sex and the mechanics of sex for prepubescent children.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they actually got very pissed off that when you
Can you link me a story that says this? Because I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm saying that I don't believe the framing. I don't believe it's that young.
You get these gender affirming psychologists who will tell you that a 3-year-old knows all about their sexuality and can make the choice to transition.
No, they'd never say that a 3-year-old knows how to do
Yes,
that. They can say
they do.
no, they don't. They say that they know how to explore their sexuality.
No,
Believe it or not,
they say they know. Watch Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman" video, and then
yeah, I would never watch that fucking cunt's unbelievable mischaracterization of what fucking people talk about.
I feel you don't like him. I don't.
No, I
really
don't like people that force their religion as their political ideology. I don't like people that do that. I talk to you guys all day long because you don't put your religious, if you are religious, as your political ideology. You work around it, sure, but you don't put that as forefront.
Okay, CSG, I have a question for you.
I've got to go and get my stuff out the oven, so I'll be muting myself when
Right,
I'm
mate.
So you heard about the Florida Don't Say Gay bill.
Of course I did, yes.
That only applies to a certain age group of children.
Yeah.
So if the issue is you're not allowed to talk about,
You do realize that bill's not talking specifically about sex, right? It's talking about the idea of being able to teach people about sexuality, which is talking about, well, there are two people that may be gay that love each other. They may be daddy and daddy. Some people may have a mummy and mummy. Some people may have a dad and a mum. I read the bill verbatim. They wasn't talking about they're going to tell kids how to have sex.
well, no, it's about gender identity and sexual identity.
Yes, that's not the same thing as you're going to have a penis up your ass. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, CSG, I do understand that. The point
So I don't
is,
understand what the issue is.
It's not appropriate for a teacher to be talking to children about that because it's not their place. It's not
Okay, well,
appropriate.
why is it not appropriate for a teacher that may have biological degrees in science not telling and explaining what biology is, how you're going through puberty, or a sociology teacher telling you and explaining what gender it is without going into explicit details? What's wrong with that?
Because you're talking about 5 to 8-year-old kids. They can have that conversation later at a different point in time.
What conversation do you think they're having?
You're talking about prepubescent children and
Yeah, I
teachers,
understand.
strangers.
More grandstanding.
You're talking about strangers who are upset about the idea that they cannot talk to prepubescent children about sexual identity, gender identity.
Yeah, what do you think that means?
It's sexual identity and it's sexual identity and gender identity. These are explicitly sexual conversations.
Okay, so when I tell my child about, oh, we have a mummy and we have a daddy, does that explicitly mean that I'm talking about the sexual relationship between them? No, answer the question.
But here's the thing: that's your child.
No. Even when it's being told in Disney fucking stories, and we all accept that that's okay. Why is that okay? But if as soon as it's a man and a man or a woman and a woman, that's bad. What's the difference?
Hold
the
on.
difference is that you're teaching it. The difference is that you're trying to talk about it. You're trying to push. You're trying to talk about these conversations in a public school setting. This is not appropriate.
It's not a public school setting, by the way. It's actually normally done in a classroom.
Got to ask, when Doctor says public school, he means state school, but sexually explicit conversations in Disney films, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree, which is why I use it as an example, Batman.
But what Doctor's not on about is stuff like that. The birds and the bees have put it stupidly. Sexual education. It should
what's
until a child is ready for it, which is usually around when they're starting to enter puberty. It's also when they need to know about it as well.
Okay, so when we talk about families in year 1, 2, and 3, when we're asking people to draw their families, and somebody has 2 dads as a family, are you telling me that the teachers shouldn't explain that that's okay to children when that happens? Not to go in explicit detail about the sexual relationships, but just that it's okay to have 2 dads. You don't think that that's okay?
I don't think there's anything wrong in that.
No, that's fine.
It's not what anybody here is saying.
Yeah,
that's what the Don't Say Gay bill is explicitly talking about. For children.
No, that's wrong, and that's a mischaracterization. The Don't Say Gay bill is saying you cannot talk to children about sexual identity and gender identity.
Yes, and you've already conflated that these are the same things of what I've just talked about.
And CSG, it also explicitly states, not only can you not talk about this to children in a public education setting, there is another thing in that bill. You can actually potentially have this conversation with parental consent. So if a kid has a question about why someone
what's that got to do with what I've just said, Doku? What's that got to do with what I just said?
You just brought up someone has 2 dads. Somebody wants to know why they have, or a kid wants to know why they have 2 dads. You have to inform the parents.
But what you mean? You have to stop the whole of the class just to go to a kid? Oh, the reason why that they have two parents is because not everybody has a male and a female parent, mother and a father. You're telling me that you have to stop class, try to get in contact with that parent that may or may not be at work, just to be able to talk, just to say that, oh yeah, well, not everybody's the same. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, because it's not the place of the teacher to have that conversation with the children in the first place. It's
What do you mean the conversation? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. What do you mean the conversation? The conversation is not everybody has a male and a female, a mummy and a daddy. Not everybody has that. That's the conversation.
Yeah, and it's not an appropriate conversation to have with kids. Teachers should be teaching kids how to read, write, and do arithmetic.
And also understand the world around them. Hence why we do sciences when we were in fucking preschool.
Yeah, and it's
school in general.
It's not the place of teachers to be having conversations with children about gender identity and sexual identity.
But they weren't having conversations at preschool and from the ages of prepubescent up to primary school or whatever you want to call it.
Then if they weren't having, it's not a big issue. If they weren't having those conversations,
it is because you're conflating the difference, which is why I brought it up to you. You're conflating the difference. When people were talking about the idea of, we're going to talk about that some people have mummies and daddies, and some people have daddies and daddies, and some people have mummies and mummies, you're saying that that's sexualized, and saying that that's talking about gender identity and sexualizing it. So how and when do you talk about it?
Gender and biological sex are inexorably tied, and they are not. That
doesn't work though, does it, random YouTuber? Because what Doku's saying is that if it happens within class, to go forward and explain anything, that person then has to go out of the class to speak to a parent to say, can I tell your child why people have a daddy and a daddy? That's literally what Doku's talking about. Well, so that doesn't work.
The conversation shouldn't be happening between a teacher and a child, or a teacher and a student, to begin with in the first place. It's not their place. That's not the place of the teacher to have that conversation.
So you're telling me that when teachers are teaching biology, you're telling me that they shouldn't have that when they're talking about the idea of puberty and things like that?
No, they shouldn't.
There's a way around this, kind of. And I realize this could possibly go wrong, but I want just a point. When a child gets to a certain age, as defined by in each country, let's be honest, America and England have different ages, so I'm making it clear it could be different. But
yeah, don't forget that you can get married at 14.
Yeah, let's just drop that one there, because there is a whole.
Well, I find the moral grandstanding interesting when people are talking about, you can't talk about sex, but you can get married.
Dude.
I mean, we don't have those types of laws here, so I can't really comment on that.
You really do, bud. You really do. Go and check how many ages. It's around about 30 states that allow people under the age of 16 to get married with parental consent. So check again, bud. Anyway, sorry, Jensen, carry on.
First of all, from random, and the obvious thing to do is at the beginning of the school year, you actually just give the kids a form to hand out to their parents so as they can actually say these things. If once the parents have given permission, then it doesn't matter what the poor clutchers say. And I do mean this on either side, both left and right. I don't give a monkeys. Permission has been given by the guardians. All bets are off. Basically say what you feel you need to say. Then if the parent wishes to actually complain, that becomes up to the parent themselves. It shouldn't actually be up to society as a whole if permission has been given, in my opinion.
Well, that's the other aspect of this conversation is if there is parental consent, then there's parental consent. There's not really much else to say about that one.
Yeah, my argument being is at the beginning of the school year, there should actually be.
Can I ask a question on that then?
Go for it.
Can I ask a question on that then? If you have parental consent from 90% of the class, but 10% of the class said you can't have it, does that mean you can't teach the class?
No, that means that the 10% that can't have that conversation are removed from the class while the conversation is occurring, and then brought back in.
You beat me to it. I was going to say that's actually happened when I was at school. Some parents objected to their children having sex education, which was on the curriculum. They were removed from that class.
And I wouldn't say removed. I would, sorry, I wouldn't say removed as it is meant. I would say removed as in taken out of the class while the other conversation occurs, then brought back in so as they can continue the lesson. But for that part of it, they should be removed from the class.
Well, what happened with us is when children did get parental consent for sex ed, they and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit envious of these children.
Yep.
They went to go play dodgeball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what happened. It's just like, okay, we're gonna teach sex ed, but this person, we don't have consent to talk to these kids about this particular topic. So,
and I bet that was the only time you were ever jealous of somebody being allowed to play dodgeball.
First of all, welcome back, CSG. Just so you know, your icon has disappeared and you are muted.
But that is a big point, though, and it's one of the things that revolves around this conversation that's very important, at least in my opinion. This does have a lot to do with...
Sorry, guys, I'll be with you in a sec.
No worries, man.
So again, if the parents are okay with it, then who am I to say? It's not my kids. These are not my children. I cannot say what they are allowed or not allowed to do. I have no say so. Yeah. Period. End of story. The issue I have is when we have other individuals trying to say I should and must be allowed to talk to children about these topics that I personally believe to be inappropriate. I believe that to be an issue. Now, if the parents are okay with it, if the parents have consent, then okay. Well, all right, fine. I cannot say one way or the other. That because it's not my kids. The inverse applies.
Doku?
I almost completely understand everything that Doku's said there, and I actually agree with most of it. The only thing I disagree with is the fact of people being able to say, this is what happens when you're in this situation. That's not trying to say, well, you feel this way, so you should do this. It's saying that if you feel this way, you can do this. I think educating people into understanding the different ideas of what's happening sociologically and mentally, I'd just do that way, it'd be easier, is a lot better than trying to hide away from it and saying, oh, I'll teach them when they're older. Because we all know that children learn the most when they're younger.
So we disagree on the nuance about the aspect then.
I think we disagree on wording. Because I think in most cases...
That's fair. I'm not going to disagree on that aspect. That's fair.
Yeah. Because there are aspects of it that I completely disagree with. I definitely, if you could find examples of this, if they were teaching prepubescent children that the dick goes in the penis or the dick goes in the a-hole, then I would be completely not against that, and I'd be on your side saying, no, I don't think teachers at any age should be saying that until they're age appropriate in high school, for instance, like 15, 16, whatever. So I'd be with you on that one. But when you say sex, you are talking about the idea of identification, sexual orientation. That's not the same thing as sex. And that's where I disagree with you particularly on.
Okay, that's fair enough. CSG, my point about this, and I doubt this is widespread, and I hope it's not. If it is, I would be a little bit more concerned. But when if you look at Fairfax, Virginia, and one of the books that they banned, and people were freaking out saying, "Oh, they're book burning."
Yeah, I remember you talking about it before. What library of school was that in? Because it wasn't a preschool and it wasn't a primary school.
Well, it was a book that was in a high school.
Exactly.
But it explicitly showed fellatio. It showed a guy giving another guy a blowjob.
Okay, does it matter if it was a guy and a guy, or does it matter if it was a girl and a guy?
Oh, I don't care if it was a guy and a guy, a girl and a guy.
Okay,
Either
so
way,
why bring up
it's
the? Okay,
pornographic.
that's fine. Okay, fine. So what's the issue? Do you not think that children are already looking at porn at that point in time? And I'm not saying that that's porn. I'm saying that that's the idea of saying and understanding what a blowjob is.
No, it's pornographic material. It has no place. It does not belong
Are
in a public
cartoons
school.
are cartoons porn?
Depending on the cartoon.
No. It doesn't depend on the cartoon. Are cartoons porn? You can beat your meat to anything, but that doesn't make it explicitly porn.
We're talking about an explicitly pornographic.
No, it's not explicitly pornographic. Explaining how fellatio happens does not make it pornographic because it's fellatio. It matters how you're explaining it.
No, the book that they banned, that people got upset about, explicitly showed, not only with explanation but also with imagery, with pictures.
Yes, so it was explaining how fellatio happens. It wasn't denigrating it so you could go off and beat your meat to it. It was explicitly teaching you how to do something if you wanted to, right?
But that doesn't belong in a public school. That doesn't belong in a public library. That's. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, just because thing. It's like, no, that is explicitly pornographic material because it's explicitly sexual. It's not appropriate.
Okay, if I get a woman and spread her legs and show her where the labia are and where the clitoris is that explicitly sexual because I've got a woman in front of you and it's a genuine picture? Or am I using that as an educational tool?
What's educational about a blowjob?
Answer the question first and I'll explain how it translates.
I would argue that depending on how the presentation is, it could vary.
I'm literally just showing you. I'm literally just asked her to spread her legs so she's laying down in a gurney or buggy or whatever, so I can show you where the clitoris is and the labia, and it's in a biological setting for science.
Okay, so what are you trying to teach? What are you trying to teach the kid?
I'm trying to teach what the different aspects of what a pussy is. So this is how we label it. You know how when you're in year 9, you have to label the sexual organs, and you get a picture of the sexual organs, and you have to label it. Is that explicitly sexual?
You're saying you're doing this explicitly for the purpose of teaching anatomy. You're doing it for anatomy.
Education, not anatomy, education.
I think people would. Some people might look at that as being explicitly sexual. I would say no. If you're doing it for the purpose of teaching anatomy, no, not explicitly sexual.
Okay, good. So if I'm saying how you would do something to do a blowjob, or how to masturbate, for instance, for a woman that needs to know how to masturbate, does that make it explicitly sexual that I'm teaching you how, not the action that is going to happen in course of, but the how? If I'm teaching you how, is that sexually explicit?
Yes, because it's done for the purpose of sexual intercourse and gratification. That is explicitly sexual.
Then you're saying that when we're talking about puberty, and talking about sex, that it's always sexual because you're going to have sex afterwards.
Not necessarily.
That's what you're saying, bud.
Yeah, we're talking about sex, though. This is something, when we're talking about fellatio, we're talking about giving a blowjob. And we're not talking about...
I understand your position. Doku, I understand your position. Let me explain what mine is, just so you understand it. I'm not saying that the action of fellatio isn't sexual. It always is. The action of fellatio and blowjobs is always going to be sexual because it is a sexual action. Showing somebody or teaching somebody without physical props is not a sexual action. By definition, it's an educational action. Do you see the difference?
So what your position is, is even though the action itself is sexual and it is education in regards to that particular action, but it's still education.
So the action of teaching somebody is education. Now, what you are teaching them can lead to separate actions. If I'm teaching somebody how to parachute off of a cliff, 9 times out of 10, they're going to do that action afterwards. But before I teach them how to do it, I'm educating them on what it is and how to do it. That doesn't mean that they're going to go and do it afterwards, though.
Right. Way of looking at it is this: is if the intent is to teach, and unfortunately, it's all based on intent. If the intent is to teach, then fine. If the intent is to teach with the express intention of causing the effect to occur later, that is a very questionable statement. The basic teaching of it, I have absolutely no problem with.
So I understand what CSG. I understand what your point is, and you are correct. It is
finally fucking hell.
Yeah, you are correct.
Sorry,
you are correct. It's for the purpose of education. I get that. My point is that it's inappropriate.
But I don't understand how. How are you describing that it's inappropriate? If you're going to talk, because it wasn't for young kids. This is for 15, 16-year-olds that are learning about sex. That, let's be honest, probably 90% or 60% of the classes that are going into that school probably done something similar to this.
Probably. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
To them.
I'm not going to disagree there. My point is,
so
it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to
why
have
is it
these type
appropriate? It's
material.
in an age-appropriate setting.
Why would you want public schools or random teachers or strangers talking to 15, 16-year-old kids about blowjobs? That's not appropriate. I'm sorry.
Right. For instance, there is no class that is teaching them about blowjobs. You are specifically talking about a book that can be taken out from the public section library to then be shown to kids if they wanted it themselves. That's not the teachers teaching them. It's just a book. Are we now going to burn all books? I'd say that hyperbolically. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Oh, damn. I was about to go get the torches.
I know. Stop right there. First of all, I would like to respond to Coach Dog. Okay, 1 second. This is what you put up. This was a little while ago, and I've only just noticed it. Sorry, dude. Most of 15-year-old, not 14 for age of marriage. Most say to a kid that you can have 2 dads, 2 mums. You just can't go into it without parents say so. Now, I agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
The base teaching of one male, 1 female, 2 female, 2 male. You can have that open. That is not that. Parents literally don't get a bloody say in that because that is basic teaching. I mean, it's like saying, it's like basically asking your kid.
I completely agree.
Am I allowed to tell the child that the sky is blue? Because it is. There are 2 parents of single gender. It is what it is. But teaching them what they get up to is the problem. Now, I'm not saying.
No, I completely not agree with that. As the representative of the left here, I completely not agree with you on that one. Which, if we take in the examples from the Midlands, for instance, when they were talking about the Birmingham schools that were against a particular book that was teaching them about the same gendered couple, the whole aspect of that from the religious point of view was just that they were teaching them that there are different types of couples. And that's where I think the conflation is.
That's actually a good thing, especially in the modern age, because when kids know that something is the norm and is accepted, it's going to lessen bullying.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
If you go to school and you've got 2 mothers or 2 fathers, or even just one parent, you're going to get bullied.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely not agree. I think that doing stuff like that is absolutely the best thing and the correct thing to do. It's as simple as Jensen says. You have gay people of both genders or whatever that have children, that adopt children. It's the same as saying the sky is blue. There's no point in denying it. It happens. They're going to see it. Why hide it?
Yes.
Yeah, my point is, which from what I hear is the left, particularly in the states, are trying to push is actually teaching about the acts of sex, all the
No,
various acts of
even in the
sex.
Don't Say Gay bill, it's not talking about the acts.
I didn't say the gay bill. I said there's a lot of people on the left, particularly in the states, trying to push that it should be taught to prepubescent children, and it
Yeah,
shouldn't
again,
be.
the reason why I push back so hard on that is not because I don't necessarily think that there are people on the left that would do that. There probably is. But I'm not 100% sure because I've never read any stories of where you have teachers or anybody in authority that is saying that they want to teach sexually explicit explanations of how these things happen to prepubescent children. I haven't seen any stories that have come out like that.
That's actually no, hold it. That's actually reasonable. Would
Yeah.
you be willing to actually reconsider your position if stories are provided to you that prove this, CSG?
Yeah, of course I could say that there are certain groups of people that will want to do that. I could say that there's people that are maps, for instance, that would want
Yeah.
this to happen.
No. What I mean is, I'm not saying I'm going to, because at this exact moment I can't. But if I provided you proof that there were teachers out there that actually did want to teach the activity, not just the lesson itself, are you willing to consider that possibility? This is where he's gone quiet.
I'm sorry, I'm driving and it's sort of
All right, no worries, man.
half
No worries,
cut
no
out.
worries.
Would you just
Yep, certainly. I'll go through it again. If I actually sent you the proof that you require of these things
be
occurring,
able to repeat it for me? I'm really sorry.
That's all right, mate. If I sent you the proof, would you be willing to rethink your opinion on it?
No. All I said was, can you repeat it? Yeah. Thank
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. I am repeating, aren't I? It's not just my brain not registering, guys. I actually would like your assistance on this one.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank crap for that.
It's CSG's.
No, it's cool. I just wanted to make sure that I was saying it
Of
properly.
course, no problem.
Okay, cool. So
It's either that or he's sitting in his bedroom laughing at us right now, which I doubt.
I don't know. This is CSG, but
No, yeah, I'm driving. I'm out and about.
Yeah, no. Did you hear my point? If I am able to provide you the info, are you willing to change your views on this?
Yeah, of course. Yes, definitely.
Excellent. That's all I wanted to know, mate. It was just literally whether you're doing the hard-headed thing or not. Cool.
No, of course not. If there's actual evidence of people that want to teach how the mechanics work to children that don't even have the capability of how the mechanics are going to work, so they have no reference frame, what's the fucking point?
Yep. And I understand your point about maps. No, I'm actually talking teachers now. I realise there could be teachers that are maps. There could be.
I mean, let's be honest. Most of those teachers probably are raping the students.
Yeah, and I refuse to call them maps.
I know, but I'm using the currently politically correct term just for sheer shits and giggles of it.
I'm just making sure that the YouTube channel doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah,
we all know what they are.
You know what? Fuck that. They're pedophiles. Just call them what they are.
I'm actually okay with calling them pedophiles because
I call them monsters.
That's not really fair to most monsters. Let's be honest, mate. Let's just go for the blunt pedophiles. I am absolutely okay with calling that, and I am stating this, YouTube. And if you've got a problem with it, ban me. I don't care. Anyway, all I was saying to you, mate, is if I can provide you the proof, you're willing to reconsider your thought. One question, though, mate. How many would you require as a rough idea? 3 or 4?
At this point, are you trying to say how many would I need for it to be considered a left position, or just their position? Because I would need 3 or 4 from different areas if it was for the whole of the left.
Okay, no, that's all I need. Thank you very much.
I shall return.
Yep, all right.
The hairy bastard wants feeding.
All right.
Don't you, Doku?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
So I'm the hairy bastard now.
Yes.
Thank you for that one, Batman.
From
to be fair,
voice,
CSG.
whoa, hold up. From voice, can we just point out that CSG shouldn't be using his phone while driving? I'm hoping he's using it hands.
I've got a headset. I've got a headset.
Right then. Yep, that's all that matters. Then.
Okay, good.
So,
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't want
I'm not
you
gonna fucking literally dox. I'm literally not gonna fucking destroy myself live on fucking. Well, to be fair, I used to do that on my channel a lot when I drank, but I'm not gonna destroy myself on the channel.
So basically, what you've done is you duct taped your phone to your ear. Gotcha. Okay.
No, I got a headset, but yeah.
Well, and to be fair, CSG, when we're talking about this, I don't think it's fair to actually call this a leftist position, because I think it's very extreme. I
completely agree.
Yeah, it's when people are talking about talking to or showing kids sexually explicit material, not for the sake of biological education or anything like that, but just having again, I'll use the Fairfax County banning a book showing how a blowjob is performed. I don't think that's a leftist position in the sense that it is a mainstream leftist position. I think that's a very far position that is explicably again sexually inappropriate, and I don't think it's a position that a lot of leftists would actually defend, because it's again sexually inappropriate.
Yeah, it's definitely not a mainstream position. It's definitely not what you would call a to use a scary word. It's not a Marxist position. It's a Pacific. It's not. It's really not. It's a Pacific genre. It's a Pacific genre of people that are ideologically set in their ways to think that this set of ideology is the only thing that matters, and that they're doing well by fighting for it.
Well, and I agree with that. I agree with that completely. It's sort of like I've seen a lot of people who are part of the LGBT community, and they look at the maps, the minor attracteds, and
they're pedophiles.
They're like, no, we don't support this. This does not represent our community. They're
exactly.
a fringe outlier, and we don't support them. And as they shouldn't, because it is a very fringe outlier.
It's also very destructive to the victims, more so than any other kind of abuse.
Yes.
Well, even more simplistically, it is a case of they cannot consent, and if something cannot consent, then it is definitionally morally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also one of the issues I do have with, as much as I hate to admit this, people who would usually agree with my position on things.
So you mean people that are right wing then? So not me. So that's good.
Well, I'm not actually right wing.
I'm joking, buddy. I'm joking.
Okay, fair enough. But
I mean, in a nice way. If I thought any of you were like proper right wing, I wouldn't fucking bother coming on.
Yeah.
But no, I have seen a lot of people, and a lot of the people that I see like calling this type of stuff out are actually part of the LGBT community, because they're pissed off about this type of stuff, and they rightfully should be.
Yes. Damages what people think of the LGBT community by having square quotes, pedos in there. You're making weird noises, CSG. So
you know,
really
agree. I think with any group, like say for instance.
CSG, I don't know if you're cutting out or if we lost you, but you broke up pretty bad there, dude.
Yeah, I believe he's cutting out because he's traveling. It is what it is, unfortunately. But we have discussed this situation, and let's be completely honest. It don't really matter what we think. Bugger all's going to happen. We all know this, which is quite frustrating. But what I will do is, we've been going for an hour and 25 minutes, so I'll be bringing it to an end here. Oh, we have one of your lot, Doku.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Deranged Lunatic. What's up, man?
Yes. Oh, so not another Arab.
So, I will be bringing this to a gentle end here. Thank you very much for all of your opinions. They have actually been quite detailed. Whether you agree or not, they've actually gone through it quite well. And in all fairness, they make perfect bloody sense. Thank you very much, guys.
That's because I'm on and I am common sense.
This is true. You are. If it wasn't for you, we'd all be gibbering idiots. I completely understand.
Also, before you do bring this to the close, I also want to say I saw you, Johnny Monsacco, in the chat. Thank you for joining us also.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Batman, anything you'd like to say, mate?
Yeah, it's over. You can all go home now. Go on, piss off.
Cool. And CSG,
Especially you, Bonsocco.
anything you would like to say? I'll go with no. In that case, thank you very much, ladies, gentlemen, whatever else you want to call yourself. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Fine, gentlemen.